You think you know where you stand. You think because you have a title, a following, a salary, a car that smells like new leather, you must be powerful. But power isn't what you hold in your hand. Power is what your absence does to a room. It is not how loudly people praise you when you arrive. It is how quickly they recalibrate when you leave. Most men never learn this. They spend their lives polishing symbols, mistaking visibility for gravity, applause for control, busyness for relevance. Then one day the lights flicker, the room goes quiet, the game gets real, and their credentials evaporate like heat on cold glass. What remains is the level of power they actually live in, stripped of story, stripped of decoration, revealed in the behavior of reality around them. Tonight I'm going to show you that ladder, level by level, without romance and without mercy. If you listen carefully, you will find yourself somewhere on this map. It will sting. Good. That sting is truth cracking the shell of a story you outgrew years ago. You wanted a mirror. This is a mirror. Ask yourself as you hear each level, is this me? Not who I aspire to be. Not who I perform. Who I am when nothing is watching. At the bottom, there is no power at all, only drift. Call it level 0, the orbit of others. You wake up to alarms set by someone else's fear, consume outrage you didn't create, run to deadlines you didn't agree to, attend meetings you didn't schedule, volunteer for guilt you didn't earn, and collapse into a sleep that feels like a rescue, not a choice. You're praised for being available, flexible, always there. You confuse being needed with being necessary. The room adjusts you. You never adjust the room. If you disappeared for 2 weeks, the only thing anyone would miss is the feeling of being able to interrupt you. Don't flinch. Admit it if this is you. Drift isn't shame. Drift is baseline. The map starts here because life starts here. But you cannot rise while you still treat other people's anxiety as your weather. Move up one rung and you hit level 1, compliance. This is the realm of rule keepers and people pleasers, the land of earned gold stars and spotless report cards. You pride yourself on following instructions. You conflate obedience with reliability. You believe fairness is the lever that moves fate. You become the person bosses trust with late-night tasks because you never argue. You start sentences with "just circling back" and end them with "no worries if not," which is code for "please don't punish me." Compliance keeps you safe in low-stake arenas. It gets you invited to rooms where decisions have already been made, but it never makes you unavoidable. Power at level 1 is a loan stored on someone else's ledger. They can foreclose at will. The moment conditions change, your standing dissolves. Level 2, competence, feels like true ascent because at last you can do things other people cannot. You write the code, you close the deal, you deliver the pitch, you turn chaos into clean lines. Your inbox fills with gratitude because you've become useful in a way that can be measured. This is the trap. Usefulness and power are not the same. Usefulness earns more work. Power earns more say. At level 2, your reward for excellence is more requests to prove it. People flatter you to keep you sprinting. Your calendar becomes a museum of other people's emergencies. You are proud and tired and suspicious of rest because you secretly believe your value exists only at full speed. It doesn't. It never did. But you can't see that yet because competence is intoxicating, especially after years at 0 and 1. The danger is that you become loyal to your identity as the one who gets it done, and identity can become a leash. Level 3, reliability, adds rhythm to competence. This is where you stop offering heroics and start offering clocks. You promise less and hit it like a metronome. You decide on Thursdays. You reply at 11 and 4. You ship on the 15th. People build around your cadence because it reduces their anxiety. Meetings end earlier. Risk becomes predictable. The entire room breathes easier and no one knows why. This is the first level where your absence starts to cost something measurable. Remove a level 2 man and the room misses speed. Remove a level 3 man and the room misses certainty. But reliability alone still rents power. It doesn't own it. You're the drumbeat. Someone else is still composing the song. Level 4, influence, arrives when your words begin to move hands you do not control. You think in frames. You select labels that change which options are considered adult. You have receipts for your intuition, and you can compress complexity into sentences that save hours. People forward your memos when you're not in the room. They quote you to win arguments. Your advice changes decision trees because it reduces fear. Influence is intoxicating because it feels like power without the weight of consequences. Beware. Influence that is not anchored in ownership quickly curdles into commentary. You become the person with the best ideas that never carry the risk of execution. Rooms will love you for this because you make them feel smarter without making them braver. If you stop here, you will be applauded often and consulted last. Level 5. Leverage is where work starts to bend. You no longer multiply effort by hours. You multiply effort by mechanisms. You build systems that replace speeches, processes that outlive panic, clauses that prevent fights, dashboards that make lying expensive. Your time stops trading for tasks and starts trading for throughput. You feel it the first time you say no to 10 small tasks and yes to one architecture decision that eliminates 50. Leverage is grown-up power because it makes outcomes less dependent on mood. You will be accused of becoming cold because you stop renting your day to drama. Accept the label. Cold is how steel feels to hands addicted to warm water. Keep building. Level 6. Framing power changes the category for everyone else. Here, you don't persuade, you rename. You say, that price fits a pilot. We are scoping a rollout. Do you want the pilot price or the rollout price? And an argument dissolves into a choice. You say, we don't discuss scope and delivery. And attention shifts to acceptance criteria rather than feelings. You define what counts as done, what counts as risk, what counts as truth. Your map becomes the map because it reduces uncertainty in a way that even opponents are forced to respect. This is where people start calling you intimidating without being able to say why. It's not your voice. It's the shape of the room when you're done talking. Gravity changed and their old moves don't land. Level 7, position, is territory. Others talk about brand. You think in fortresses and supply lines. You own the distribution channel, the compliance knowledge, the data that de-risks, the relationship no one else can form. You are no longer lobbying at the throne. You are running the road to the throne. If you vanished for 2 weeks, projects would pause not because you are busy, but because nothing flows without your valve. You are not clinging to seats. You are printing them. This is the first level where you can afford true generosity, because your edges protect your softness from being mined. You can say yes without bleeding. You can say no without speeches. Your silence communicates more than other people's manifestos. Level 8, sovereignty, is power over your own tempo and terrain. Your day is formatted by choice, not reaction. You can absorb shocks without changing your code. You can expand without losing the stillness that built you. Sovereignty is not isolation. It is immunity from manipulation. Praise doesn't speed you up. Criticism doesn't slow you down. You are kind because you want to be, not because you need to be liked to survive. You use media. You are not used by it. You use platforms. You are not owned by them. People call you lucky because smoothness looks like luck to the frantic. They do not see the structure behind your calm. Decision windows, default options, escalation ladders, truth rituals, spare capacity held like a weapon. At level 8, you no longer chase opportunity, you curate it. The rooms that once felt like proofs of worth now feel like noise you're allowed to ignore. Level 9, institution, doesn't mean you become a company. It means your behavior becomes a place other people can stand. Your code turns into culture. Your standards become tradition. Your rhythms become calendars. Your departures become succession plans. You become the reason other competent people can do their best work with less self-betrayal. Your presence reduces the cost of truth across an ecosystem. When you are gone, the machine keeps its integrity because you built it to survive your absence. This is the highest level of power most people can use without corrupting themselves. Past this point, the map becomes geopolitics and religion. Stay here. Master this. If you do, you will be dangerous and gentle at once. Now that you've seen the ladder, you want to climb. but you don't climb by wishing. You climb by seeing the traps at each level and by performing the small acts that break the current rung's gravity. Each level has a toxin that mimics progress. Each level has a test that shatters illusion. Each level has a move that tilts you upward. The toxin of level 0 is distraction disguised as urgency. The test is a day without notifications. Can you hear your own priorities, or do you shake from the silence? The move is selecting 2 non-negotiables before touching your phone and protecting them from every polite theft. You won't be celebrated for this. That's why you must do it. The toxin of level 1 is the praise of gatekeepers. The test is a refusal to explain one boundary. Say no once without the apologetic paragraph and feel your nervous system beg you to repair someone else's disappointment. The move is writing your code in 10 lines, what you always do, what you never do, and enforcing it once. You will feel cruel. You are building banks for a river that was flooding everything you care about. The toxin of level 2 is the identity of the hero. The test is whether you can write the document that lets someone else perform your magic while you design the next lever. The move is replacing 1 hour of sprinting with 1 page that closes 10 loops. System beats sprint. If you refuse, you will become the busiest replaceable man alive. The toxin of level 3 is pride and schedule masochism. The test is whether you can keep spare capacity without filling it with more help. The move is installing decision days and response windows, and letting the world call you slow while your accuracy doubles. Rhythm looks arrogant to the anxious. Keep it anyway. The toxin of level 4 is consensus addiction, the joy of being quoted without owning a result. The test is whether your framing survives contact with the accountability of delivery. The move is to attach your name to one outcome and to use your influence to defend the operation, not your ego. If your advice can't survive a post-mortem, it wasn't power. It was performance. The toxin of level 5 is coldness for its own sake. The test is whether your systems make life easier for people doing the real work, or just keep your inbox clean. The move is to build one mechanism that reduces someone else's suffering without asking for credit, and to harden it until it's boring. Boredom is the proof that the lever is real. The toxin of level 6 is rhetoric unmoored from reality. The test is whether your frames price risk accurately or just win arguments. The move is to tie every category you change to a clause that eats cost when you're wrong. Responsibility anchors language. Without it, you're just a charming priest of words. The toxin of level 7 is territorial paranoia. The test is whether you can document your moat so others can maintain it without you and still sleep well. The move is to replace secrecy with standards. Hoarding is fear. Standards are dynasty. The toxin of level 8 is indifference dressed as peace. The test is whether your serenity still produces outcomes on schedule or whether it has become resignation. The move is to keep one promise that costs you. Precisely so, your calm never slides into laziness. Sovereignty is not avoidance. It is mastery. The toxin of level 9 is sainthood cosplay. The test is whether the culture holds under stress without your presence. The move is to engineer a conflict that normally would tear your group apart and to watch your standards handle it. If they do, you built an institution. If they don't, you built a fan club. Between levels, there are bridges, not metaphors, mechanics. Bridge 1. From 0 to 1, say no without context once per day for 7 days. You will learn you don't die. Bridge 2. From 1 to 2, choose one domain and suffer through competence until your taste matches your output. Bridge 3. From 2 to 3, calendar discipline, decision days, response windows, shipping cadence. Bridge 4. From 3 to 4, compress truth. Weekly memo, 3 options, 1 recommendation, risks priced. Bridge 5. From 4 to 5, select one system to build. Scope control, acceptance criteria, change request pricing, escalation ladders. Bridge 6. From 5 to 6, rename without lying, define pilot versus rollout, risk versus uncertainty, urgency versus theater. Bridge 7. From 6 to 7, acquire territory, distribution channel, compliance clearance, proprietary data set, contract positioning, exclusive relationship. Bridge 8. From 7 to 8, stop performing availability, install spare capacity, and protect it like oxygen. Bridge 9. From 8 to 9, document until your code survives your absence. Then leave for a week and let the machine tell you where it leaks. There are enemies on this path and none of them carry swords. The first is guilt, a domestication tool, not a moral compass. It will tell you your boundaries are violence. Learn the difference between harm and disappointment. Apologize for harm. Let disappointment live in other people's bodies without renting space in yours. The second is flattery, syrup that hides the hook. People will praise your patience, your flexibility, your availability, not because they admire it, but because they want to keep buying it cheap. Translate compliments into requirements. If they love your responsiveness, give them a service level agreement and a price. The third is urgency with no external clock. Panic masquerading as importance. Ask, what breaks if this moves to Thursday? Watch 90% evaporate. Hunt the 10% like a wolf. The fourth is visibility addiction, the belief that showing your work is the same as owning the outcome. Replace posts with proof on cadence. The algorithm sells your attention back to you at a loss. Rhythm pays you back with rooms that predict you. You also need allies, not cheerleaders, adults. The ones who exhale when your edges appear because they were suffocating under the polite chaos of nice. Find the people who are calmed by truth delivered without theater. Find the ones who do not need you to leak to feel connected. Find the ones who become sharper near your standards. Build with them. That's a pack. The rest are a crowd. Crowds consume. Packs carry. Learn the difference early, or you will be loved to death by people who only love you edible. You will ask, can I skip levels? You can skip symbols. You cannot skip behavior. You can buy influence with money. You cannot buy reliability if your nervous system is owned by panic. You can hire a team to build systems. You cannot keep them if you refuse to enforce standards when they become expensive socially. You can purchase distribution. You cannot hold territory if you will not defend it with withdrawal when violated. The level you live in is the level your default acts belong to, not the flavor of your goals, not the poetry of your brand. What you do when tired, under pressure, and unobserved. Now I will give you a test that hurts. It is 1 sentence long, and it will tell you more about your level than any resume. If you vanished for 14 days without warning, what would break and who would pay? If the answer is, my DMs would be sad, you are at 0. If the answer is, my boss would be annoyed, you are at 1. If the answer is, several tasks would stack up, you are at 2. If the answer is, deadlines would slip because cadence collapses, you are at 3. If the answer is, decisions would worsen because frames evaporate, you are at 4. If the answer is, we'd bleed money because mechanisms would stop routing chaos, you are at 5. If the answer is, the category would be defined by someone else and prices would move against us, you are at 6. If the answer is, distribution would choke and partners would wait, you are at 7. If the answer is, everything would still run, but expansions would pause until I return, you are at 8. If the answer is, the machine would keep its ethics and performance because we built for succession, you are at 9. Do not judge yourself. Locate yourself. A man who lies about his coordinates walks in circles forever. Do you want one more mirror? Here is the vocabulary audit. Level 0 speaks in feelings with no calendar. I'm overwhelmed. Level 1 speaks in permission disguised as politeness. Just checking in. Level 2 speaks in promises to self-sacrifice. I'll make it work. Level 3 speaks in clocks. We ship on Friday. Level 4 speaks in frames. Call this a pilot or a rollout. Level 5 speaks in mechanisms. Change request route to phase 2 or reprice at unit rate. Level 6 speaks in categories. Urgency without an external clock is theater. Level 7 speaks in territory. We own this channel. Access is priced. Level 8 speaks in sovereignty. I decide on Thursdays. Level 9 speaks in culture. We don't discuss scope and delivery. Listen to yourself for one day and the truth will announce itself. You also worry about goodness. If I climb, will I become cold? Will I lose my heart? Only if your edges are built without a code. Edges without ethics create tyrants. Ethics without edges create parasites. You will be both. Clean standards and warm eyes. You will apologize for harm exactly once. Then fix the system so that harm cannot repeat cheaply. You will protect the absent so gossip cannot corrode your rooms. You will attribute wins correctly so trust compounds instead of leaking. You will tell the truth early and then stand there while it changes other people's plans. You will make promises few and keep them all. That is the shape of power that does not rot the hand that holds it. Let me speak to the boy in you who still wants to be universally liked. He learned that love arrived as a reward for performance. He survived by over-explaining, over-giving, over-agreeing. Thank him. He got you here alive. Then show him the ledger. Niceness purchased attention and bought you exhaustion. Necessity purchased respect and bought you space. You will not choose cruelty. You will choose necessity so that your kindness is never again harvested as fuel. When your kindness stops being a survival strategy and becomes a gift, it will taste like freedom. Now the cadence. You wanted fast, not shortcuts, sequence. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, write 10 lines of code. Then cancel one meeting and replace it with a one-page decision doc with options, costs, risk, and a recommendation. Ship one outcome exactly when you said you would. Say one no with no paragraph attached. Enforce one standard in public and pay the social price once. Translate one flattery into a system requirement. If they love your speed, they can buy a rush slot at 1.5x, and you will create 2 a month. Ask one clean question in one loud room and then count to 5 in your head while silence makes truth cheap. Take one long walk without headphones and notice which level's vocabulary arises in your mind when your brain tries to narrate your worth. Then go home early without announcing it and see what pings you. Tomorrow will tell you where the leaks live. Fix one. That is how ladders are climbed. One leak sealed, one rail installed, one rule enforced, one truth told, one system built, one rhythm protected. Do this for 30 days and your level will change whether or not your title does. Rooms will sense it first. Their noise will lower. Their questions will sharpen. The invitations will be fewer and better. The people who loved your softness will complain. The people who needed your standards will arrive. Your spine will stop asking for permission. Which level of power are you really in? Not the level your friends assume because of your followers. Not the level your enemies assign to comfort themselves. Not the level you perform when the camera is on. The level where your default acts live. The level where your absence speaks. The level where your code survives your mood. Find it. Admit it. Then climb quietly. Do not broadcast your ascent. Do not ask the crowd to clap for what it cannot understand. Become a place. Become a rhythm. Become a rule that protects good people from bad incentives. When you do, you will wake one morning to a room that yields without argument, a calendar that obeys without guilt, a team that tells the truth without theater, and a life that no longer needs applause to feel like power. That is level 9 breathing. Until then, keep moving, keep pruning, keep building. And when someone interrupts you tomorrow with a polite emergency, hungry for the version of you that once bled to be liked, smile without malice and use the sentence that belongs to men who know their level and intend to rise. No. Here's how this works.